Now today I've got a really special video for you because, as you know, I've been so excited about getting my E21 back on the road. Now I'm working with eBay because it's MOT season, and that is exactly what this car needs. I've ordered a few parts from online, and now today we're going to be installing them on the car, and I'm going to be taking you and telling you the story about how this car actually started my entire journey. Before YouTube, before the magazine features, this was my daily drive when I was 21 years old, and it's coming up to her 40th birthday this year. So it's really important that she's looking tip-top. So I've got a few things that I need to do, and I'm going to take you around today to show you exactly what we're doing. So let's go right back to the beginning with this car. I was 21 years old when I found it on eBay. Now, I'd been piling loads of money into my Mark IV Golf at the time. She was only a little 1.4, and I knew as much as I wanted it to be, the Mark IV was never going to be a classic car. So I knew it was about the time that I needed to buy something and start investing into a future project. And this is where the E21 comes in. I actually saw a picture of my mom with an E21 when she was about 23 or 4. And I remember my dad showing me the picture, and I was like, Dad, that is the coolest car. What is that? So I started looking on eBay, looked around, and then this one came up. And I remember messaging the person and saying, is this as good as it looks in the pictures? And it was actually a lady that got back to me and said, this is my baby. I'm selling her. It needs a few bits here and there. But honestly, it is as good as it looks in the pictures. And that to me was it. I literally said to her, keep the car there. I'll be down tomorrow. Got into the car, put a trailer on the back. And that's how this car ended up coming home with me in about 48 hours from seeing it online. We all love a little impulse purchase from eBay, right? I remember looking for hours until this car came up. So anyway, I picked the car up. She was completely standard at the time. The paint was faded. And the thing with these cars, this car is actually called Henna Rot, and it's quite a flat red color. So I knew that it was going to need bodywork. I knew that it was going to need paint. It needed a new exhaust. There were so many things that I wanted to do to it. But to me, it was a blank canvas. I could see already what wheels I wanted, how the suspension was going to look, the interior. So since I've got it, I've done a full back-to-bare metal respray. I put air ride on the car, and air ride offered me the ability to have the car running really low, but without breaking things. So I knew straight away that it was going to have air suspension on it. Now the wheels, the BBS RSs that you see on the car, they were actually a friend's wheels. During that time, like lots of us loved BBS RSs. I mean, they're a classic motorsport wheel, right? So once I finally had the wheels in my possession, it was straight down to the wheel shop. But you know, over the years, I've changed little bits and bobs about this car, but kept the main recipe the same. So one of the first things that I knew when I got this car was it needed a Nardi steering wheel. I don't know why, but over the years, like these have always just been the classic style wheel that looks perfect. And I wanted one which had quite a deep dish. I've had this wheel on since the first day I bought this car home, and I just thought it looked so cool. Lots of people in these cars tend to change the interior from this kind of, it's called Pergamon beige, I think. They tend to change it to black. So I wanted to keep with the original colour of the interior because I thought it suited with the steering wheel. So these seats actually, again, was another eBay purchase. I was looking around because I loved the fishnet headrests, but these were actually originally in black as well. So I had these retrimmed in the original Pergamon beige interior. I had to find all that material and then get it matched in with the rear seat to go with the door cards as well. I just absolutely love the way the fishnets sit in the car. So when you're looking through the front, all you can see is these beautiful seats. They're a little bit mucky now. I mean, the car has had a few hard years. You've got to remember, I was 21 when I got this. I'm going to say 10 years older. So the carpets have had a bit of a hard time. I mean, down here, as you can see past my feet, there has been many coffees and Diet Cokes that have been spilt here. But the main damage came from when I actually had a heater matrix failure. So all of the water came in behind the dashboard and was running all the way through here. I remember opening the door after a trip one day and I was like, oh God, that's not supposed to look like that. So that's something that I've actually got to finish on the car still, but it involves taking all of the dashboard out. One of the main features that everybody talks about when they see this car is this. This is the Auto Plus rear louver. It kind of gives the illusion that there's actually not a rear window in the car, but there is. Now this, I had to find. I'm telling you, even though back in the 80s, apparently you could get these everywhere, but to find an original 1980s Auto Plus rear louver turned out to be really difficult. I ended up paying £600 for this, which I'm pretty sure, when I look at it, the feel of the material, it's probably not worth £600, but it just completed the look of the car for me, and I would have paid anything to have one. I was told that these were really popular, sort of in the 80s, 90s. This is called a heck blend. It's a little bit battered now, whereas you can see some of the water's kind of come through on it. But this before would just have a blank black plate here. And I just thought it kind of looked cool. It was just part of all the red with the lights here and with the rest of the car. So I've always kept it on there. I've also had a manifold back custom exhaust put on the car as well, because before it just had a single pipe and I really like the twin pipe. So I think it just finished the car off perfectly. And look, it's only a little 316. It doesn't have a lot of grunt, but it doesn't matter. It sounds nice. It runs sweet. And this little twin pipe here just really finishes it off. This is something that I really loved as well. This is the original AA relay sticker from when the car was originally manufactured. One of the best things that I love about this car is the paintwork. A couple of years into owning the car, I managed to save up enough money to get a full respray done because it was just what the car needed. Like, I had all the little cool bits here and there, but the bodywork just needed a little bit of straightening. It just needed that glossy, bright shine to it, which it still has today. This paint was done about 6 or 7 years ago, and it still looks mint. I've always kept the car inside. I've kept it dry stored. So that's probably one of the reasons why it's kept so well. But the quality of the paintwork is insane. The front of the car originally had the twin lights that you can get with the 320. So this is the smaller engine one. This is the M10. So it is just the 1.8. And originally it came with the single headlights. But for a while I was running the twins that you can get on the 320. Again, I've made little changes here and there just to change up the look of it, only with just small tweaks, whether it's like changing the wheel setup, putting the singles back over the doubles. I actually prefer the singles now because I think it really gives that whole retro look to it. I think it looks wicked. So confession time, when I did have the car resprayed, I actually couldn't afford to get the inside of the engine bay done. So this was always my plan at some point, to change the engine, get that engine bay resprayed. And that's still on my to-do list, which I am thinking about trying to get done this year. I love the way these bonnets open. They open forward here. But as you can see, it's still got a little bit of the heat shield on here. I mean, it's still in pretty good nick. This is just obviously the single carb. It's the M10. It's only a little baby engine, but let me tell you, these things are absolutely bulletproof. I ran it every single day when I was in my early 20s. And I'll be honest, I probably wasn't the kindest to it. I topped up the oil here and there, but this car has run and run and run. It's over 120,000 miles now, and she's never let me down. It's only the fact because the car had sat for a while that it started to not run, because it's got a manual fuel pump in here instead of an electric one. So sometimes you just have to kind of prime it a little bit if it's been sat for a while. Obviously it's a car, it can get a little bit choked up. But at the moment, she's running great. We've got a few little things that we need to do. I mean, we've got the battery here, which needs to be replaced, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. My dream for this car, I was thinking about putting the 6-cylinder in, because this is only the 4-cylinder. You can get that in the 320, and then put in twin 40 Weber carbs on it, which would make it sound absolutely wicked. And there is a story behind that. My dad runs twin 40s on his Singervo, so I'd just love to have the same carb setup as my dad, because he knows how to tweak them. I did think about going ITBs, but then that's injection and you have to do a lot more work to it. And I think my dad just likes tinkering with cars with me. So if I had twin 40s, I know he'd be loving it, just like setting it up, jetting it. So there's more things to do with my dad, really. Do you know what I mean? Like, he loves this car, even though when I brought it home, he said to me, he was like, "Are you sure? Do you know what you're doing? This is an older car. You need to do this, this, and this." And I was like, "Dad, I'll be fine." And look, 10 years later, she's still here. She's in great nick. Before, this had the original badges on it, but I actually had to replace them because somebody came along in the night one time and levered off my badges, which I was really sad about. I always love the sound of the pop when you open the boots and the doors and things. That's the great thing about classic cars. They always feel so solid. So here are the parts that I got from eBay. Some of them are new, some of them are used. Now, parts that you get from eBay are certified recycled, which means that they are checked to make sure they're up to standard, and they offer warranty on these as well. The new parts that we've got is a battery. We've got some windscreen wipers here, because obviously you need all these things for MOT. We actually also managed to find a new kidney grille for the front, because it's starting to get a little bit loose, because where the bonnet flips up, it kind of picks that kidney grille, and I wanted it to look all pretty and be really solidly on there for when it goes to MOT. Okay, so here we have my new kidney grille. As you can see down the front here, it's nice and straight, whereas the one that I have on the car already has all been bent here. So you can see the damage on this one here. So this will just straighten it all up, make it look lovely and fresh again. Can't wait. all in there nicely. Beautiful. Next thing we're going to change is the windscreen wipers. Now, they don't have the strongest windscreen wiper motors ever, so it's really important that your blades are fresh because you need to make sure you've got a nice clean screen, especially when you're driving about. Like, the roads have been a little bit bad recently. I don't tend to get her out in the bad weather, but you never know when you're going to get caught. So fresh wiper blades is always a must when you're going to get an MOT. I always use these Bosch ones. So it's literally going to take this one off. They are quite simple. Pop down like that. Just release it. And there you have it. Nice, brand new wiper blades. Perfect. Now for the next one. Lovely. Okay. Time to change the battery. Now, because the air ride draws quite a lot of voltage, a while ago there was a problem with it, which meant that it was constantly draining on the battery. So this has got quite tired, and I notice it when I start cranking it over. So it's always good to put a fresh battery in, so it makes sure that everything is turning at the right pace. It's super easy to loosen the bolts on the terminals. It's always a trusty 10mm that you need. There we go. Okay. Ooh. Right, so the terminals are on. Let's crank her over and see how she goes. Beautiful. Nice and healthy. Air rides come on straight away, which means all the terminals are nice and tight. Perfect. So the last thing that I'm going to do is use this headlight lens restorer just to give the headlights a little buff over. The thing about the headlights on the E21, they are a little bit like candles in the night, so you need to always make sure that the lenses are really super clean and really bright, because otherwise it can be quite dark at night time. So this is just something that I do to make sure that when you're driving at night, you can still see where you're going. This stuff is really easy to use. To be fair, they're not actually too bad at the moment, but it always helps just to give them a little once over every now and then. Just apply a small bit of it onto a clean cloth and then go over the headlight using circular motions and decent pressure. Put that on there, let that bake for a minute. Now I've just let that bake, I'm just going to rub this off. One of the things that you really have to do with older cars is take care of your headlights, because these units are getting harder and harder to find. As the car gets older, you know that these parts are going to get rarer. So it's really important that instead of spending out loads of money trying to find new headlights just because they've gone all glazed, you can just take care of them using something like this. Brilliant. All of the new parts installed on the car, so the car is ready now to go to MOT. There are still quite a few things that I want to do with it. Obviously, I was talking about the interior earlier. That needs to get sorted quickly, but also we need to take out that dashboard, get the heater matrix, because I really do need some heating in the car. The car is going to be 40 years old this year. Can you believe, like, these things keep getting older and older, but they still look timeless to me. So I want to take the car to some shows, relive the good old days a little bit. I'm definitely thinking about taking it on a road trip. So I need to make sure that she is in great working order, but this is the first step on the journey. Now, if you need to find any parts or accessories for your car to get it MOT ready, make sure you click the link in the description. That's going to take you straight over to eBay. You know what it's like when we've got cars like this. It is a little bit harder to find parts, but trust me, you can find absolutely everything on there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll check you on the next one.